الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين فإن زللتم من بعد ما جاءتكم البينات فاعلموا أن الله عزيز حكيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم سيدنا محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I greet us in the best mood of greetings, the greetings of paradise. May Allah count us among them by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It's indeed the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to witness Ramadan. 1, 2, 3, 4, the days are going. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good deeds and accept it from us as ibadah. What we're looking at this time is understanding the meaning of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This is a basic concept that is known to every Muslim. And that affirmation is our inroad into Islam. When we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's the kalima that we pronounce before becoming Muslims. So, and it is lively saying that there is no deity worthy of worship, worthy of our obeisance, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that we cannot refer Allah, we cannot obey Allah, we cannot worship Allah except to follow the way of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is basically our guide. So literally, it means we worship Allah, we obey Him, we follow the example by following the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is a concept of Tawheed, that we are asserting the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not associating anything with Him. So this is the declaration that makes us a Muslim, like I said, that we totally surrender ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are three main categories of Tawheed. Number one is Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. This means that the unity of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that means, by implication, that this is affirming that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in His dominion and His actions. That Allah alone caused all things to be. So whatever it is, when there was nothing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made something. So that's in Quran chapter 39 verse 62. So all this means that He is the only one that sustained and maintained creations without any need from His creations. Allahu Ghaniyun Hamid. He does not need anything from us except whether we follow Him or we obey Him not. No, so He's the sole Lord of the multiverse, all the heavens, the earth, and all that it contains, and the celestial bodies and everything that's created. So it is in they are only habiting because of Him, and they don't pose any real challenge to His sovereignty. So He is the only one that has power and gives power to whosoever He wishes. So with this, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of everything and is not in need of anything from us. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ do make that statement, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. There is no power, there is no might except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second one is Tawheed al-Asma'ul wa Sifat. This is maintaining the unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name and His attributes. And that is to say, Allah is one without any similitude in His existence and His attributes. This has 5 main aspects. Quickly, number one is unity of Allah's name and His attribute that must be maintained. So this will refer to Him as He has referred to Himself and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are so many verses of the Quran that in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to Himself and displays attributes to us. Secondly, it's referring to Him as He has referred to Himself without giving Him any new names and attributes. It's outside our purview as human beings to think that we can give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a name. Who are we? In what way did we comprehend Him? For example, we know Allah told us He can be hungry, But he has not given himself al-Ghalib. That is the angry one. So we cannot give it to him. Thirdly, is that not giving him the attribute of his creation. E.g., for example, Allah does not sleep. He doesn't get tired. That's the attribute of us as man. Allah does not need children. It is we that need children. So we cannot give him any of those kind of attributes. So he's finite, and we cannot give the infinite cannot give him a name. A man must not be given the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, we are infallible. We are very fallible. Allah has his infallibility. He has the knowledge of the past and the present and the future. So we cannot give such an attribute to men. Even in his attribute, finally, when we give people's Allah's name in definite forms, it cannot be given except we attach Abdu to it, the servant of As-Sabur. Who are we to say we are patient? Let us look at the atrocities that we are committing. So it is very important to understand this, that we cannot give part of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ourselves except we had Abdu to it.
فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله واستغفر لذنبك وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات والله يعلم متقلبكم ومثواكم.
The third one is our Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. This is maintaining the unity of Allah's worship. Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone without rival in his divinity and in everything. So all forms of worship in this case must be directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, because he alone deserves to be worshipped. Secondly, that he alone can grant benefits to man as a result of worship. Every other thing that claims to wants to grant any benefit is can only grant what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted. Then thirdly, there is no need for any form of intercessor or intermediary between man and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that is closer to us than our jugular vein. And that is in Quran chapter 50 verse 16. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenged our intellect, because he has told us that the main purpose of sending messengers to us, to every nation, is to guide them. Ibudullah, worship Allah and do not, as a matter of fact, avoid false gods in your worship. So this is telling us that we cannot, as a matter of fact, deny the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that we should worship him. Of course, it would call challenge us that all that we claim we're worshiping, they cannot benefit us in any way, except with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will benefit us with. And in Quran chapter 7 verse 194, Allah told us they are slaves like us. They are creatures like us. Why worship trees when Allah created it? Why worship stones when Allah created it? Why worship rivers when Allah created it? Why cut down the trees and make what do we call it, out of sculptures out of it, and begin to worship those sculptures that we make with our own hands? So in essence, these three aspects of Tawheed are very, very important. They are inseparable. But this third one, it's the most important of them all, because even the mushrik, they believe in the first two, and they affirm them. So which means that even though we have what we have today, even though they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all, they believe that there is a supreme being, and they are using their gods to ascend to him as an intercessor. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us as Muslims that we should call him and he will respond to us. It's closer to us than we think of. So these three aspects of worship, like I said, are inseparable, such that whoever omits any one has failed to comply with the requirements of Tawheed. And by so doing, such a person has pushed himself into shirk, which can lead such a person to kufr. And shirk means a sharing or associating partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes it's not even idols that are the case now. It is we as human beings ourselves, such that at the end of the day, you worship your self-desires. In Quran chapter 45 verse 23, and you think you are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another form of shirk. So we should be very careful. The impact of shahada in a Muslim life are very numerous. But one of it is that you live a directional life because you are constantly under the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah guide the believers from darkness into light. So this is very important. So you won't fall into any forms of manipulation, not worshipping other multiple gods, because this one stand for this one stand for that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all in all. It gives the tranquility to the soul. You know, when you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him in the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the soul gets tranquility. We get contented and we have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We trust in Him as our Lord and the one that has power over all things. In Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir, He does whatever He wishes. Then it makes us strong against adversity as Muslims. Whatever happens, we know is within the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has power over it, and we keep asking Him to be with us and to remove our adversity from us. Then on the community and the unity of Muslims too, it has its impact positively. This gives Muslims the uniformity of actions. Like Ramadan is coming. There's no any other month other than Ramadan for us to all fast collectively, except there are other nominal fasting, not compulsory fasting. Then we have common laws. So this breeds understanding and guidance. We all know this is the way to do it. We all know this is what Allah wants. You all know this is not what Allah wants. You all know you have to perform ablution before you enter the mosque. You all know the rule guiding the mosque. All of this reduces frictions within the community. And then it makes the worship easier. Wherever you go all over the world as a Muslim, your actions and inactions will not be different from that of your fellow Muslims in terms of worship. Then as Muslims, we compete in serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and following the Rasul in doing whatever we do. So this brings progress. You know, everybody wants to die, which is good. Like Ramadan is coming, everybody wants to feed the fasting Muslims, even those who want to give ordinary water to want to break their fast. You know, all sorts of things. We compete in doing good. Also, it brings security and peace. When all of us know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us and we have to watch our actions, the society becomes secured and we all live in peace. Then it brings communal support and strength. Ramadan is in place now. You all want to wake your neighbor. You all want to extol each other to do that which is good. You all want to improve in our acts of worship and amongst the like. So it also helps in strengthening the iman of the individual. When you understand this concept of Tawheed and you imbibe it strengthens our iman and our resolve to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to live our life as His servant, to meet the goal of life, to meet the goal of our existence, so that we will start beginning to drift between different ideas that does not meet with the nature of man within us, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Our main purpose of being created is to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Him, to live according to His dictates, so that both be we that we are living and the one we are living in, we are not going to be in contradictions. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen our iman. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله والبعث بعد الموت لا إله إلا الله. آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم